Okay, when you're ready to do the service work, first thing you're going to start with is by undoing the hose on the side here. So simply remove the hose. That's a fully grounded hose, and that'll stay out of your way. There's two clamps on top of the unit, one on either side. These are already pre-adjusted. As soon as you do that, you're able to remove the lid. To remove the lid, you simply just want to pull up, and you're going to see that there is the lid. Once we have the lid removed, you're going to want to clean this down back into the tank, and then you're going to want to remove this plate. You can simply do this by unspinning that, and make sure you don't lose any of the hardware that's connected to that. Now this is going to have some dirt on the upper side of this, so you're going to want to clean this off and get all of that waste material off. On the inside, you have your demisting pad. Again, you're going to have a lock washer and a regular washer that's just holding that on there. And then you have your demisting pad. This is going to be the dirty side of the pad. So when you take this out, you want to make sure that you know which side the dirty side is. That way that you can back flush it. You always want to rinse a demisting pad from the clean side back through to the dirty side. So to get on here, just very carefully, it's a stainless steel mesh. Very, very carefully just pull that out. And the inside, this is the clean side demisting pad. You're going to want to inspect there as well to see if any of the material has gotten through the demisting pad. If so, it might indicate that it's time to change your demisting pad. Once you've removed the demisting pad, now you're going to inspect the tank itself. Inside of here, you're going to want to wipe down all these walls and back spray everything down in there. You're going to want to loosen up this bolt. Once loose, you can take out the dispersion screen. It simply slides out like this. You're going to want to make sure that this is completely clean, that all these holes are clean. And then underneath here, you're going to want to, after you empty the water, make sure that that tank down in there is completely empty of any sludge and any debris that's built up. To put it back together, you're going to lock this in underneath these two little tabs here and simply put the dispersion screen back in. So once we have our demisting pad out, again this is the dirty side, we're going to back flush it from the clean side back down into the tank. So now we've inspected our demisting pad. Very important you keep this demisting pad clean. When you first take possession of your unit, you could weigh this demisting pad. That's when you're going to know what it weighs when it's not dirty. Once it becomes saturated, it's going to be a higher weight. So then you could determine by weight or by a visual inspection when it needs to be changed. To put it back in, it's the opposite. You simply just are going to put it in like that. Once you put your demisting pad back in, you just want to put that bar in there to keep it secure. And you don't have to put this on ultra tight. Just put it on there until it makes contact, and maybe just a couple extra turns so it keeps contact on that. We do have our washer and our lock washer, and then our clean pad. Now make note of the notch here. You want to make sure that notch is lined up down this bottom corner. It's opposite of the elbow here because we're going to clear this water fill area right here. So that's where we want the notch to be able to clear. So when I go and put this on and I sit this back down, it'll drop nicely into place. Both clamps on either side will lock into position because we cleared that water fill. The last thing you're going to do here is you just want to inspect this valve right here. This is a degassing valve. You just want to make sure that it moves freely, that it doesn't have any debris in it. That's it. You give it a light tap. You see that it's moved in there. Nothing's locked up. You're going to reattach the grounded hose. The grounded hose has an anti-static cuff for redundancy, and it has a little ground wire. So we're going to make sure that this copper ground wire is making contact with that elbow. Push it on, tighten up, and that's how you reassembled after you clean the tank. Put the filter on, and we're going to take our sanitary clamp, and we're going to clamp the filter on. So now we know that as it's hanging there, it's not going to fall off. So with that on, now I'm going to open this up. Now remember, this has 12 gallons in it. You're using a 5-gallon bucket. You're going to have to do this a couple of times if you're emptying everything out. So now I'm going to open the valve. And when I open the valve, all my liquid is coming through this filter bag. And it's going to start to fill that bucket. I'm going to watch the level of what it fills. And I'm going to stop it before it gets to the top. Again, I'm going to do this a couple of times. Now with this bag, we can discharge this bag. And we can actually disconnect this bag and remove it, and all the metals would be in there, and we could hang it up to dry so this fills up with solids and let those dry. Sometimes you're going to want to empty this just into a bucket and transfer that into a drum and let it sit in an open top drum for a period of time so all the metals settle out of it. Or you can take this to be disposed of. You're going to want to make sure the valve is completely closed. Then you can go ahead and with the valve closed, you can remove the clamp. And this one's a spring-loaded clamp. Can remove this, empty it either into the bucket or take it away to empty, but chances are there's going to be solids in this and I'm going to take it away to empty. After you've completely flushed the tank, you're going to want to open this up and make sure that this sight glass is free from any debris. Now when you empty the tank, you're going to see the sight glass going down. That's going to show that this has been emptying as well. But if you see the angle here, there could be a little debris left in here. So you want to unscrew this and you want to clean this out periodically just to make sure that debris isn't going to build up in your sight glass. Once you've done your tank, you're going to want to periodically check your filter mechanism in here. So what we have is we have another degassing valve here. This degassing valve, you just want to make sure that it moves freely. And then you have two clamps. Now these clamps, one on either side, are the only thing that you're going to have to do to lift this off. Now with the use of two people, because the motor deck's heavy, you're going to remove the motor deck and you're going to take it off. So you're going to lift evenly and remove the motor deck to get access to the filters. With a 13mm ratchet, you're going to want to undo these filters. You'll notice the ground wire here is tucked around. These are stainless steel end caps on a stainless steel plate, but you still want to make sure that that's tucked around the gasket. So once you move those, you can move these out of the way and you can remove the filter. Notice how we just tucked that right around to make contact with this. These filters you can take and you can clean off. The instructions on how to clean them are in the manual. And then you're going to want to inspect the tank down in here, make sure that there's no debris built up inside of the tank. This is the incoming air over here, so you would see it here first. If that hose coming down from the tank had dust in it, you would see it here. If there's liquid in here, there is a drain on the very bottom you can open up to drain it out. So again, to put the filters back in, you just tuck that ground wire inside. That's going to make sure it makes contact around that gasket. And then you're just going to put these back on and tighten those up with a 13mm socket. That's all you have to do to ground those filters and properly install them. And just make sure they're tight enough where they're not going to move out of the way on their own, and that's going to hold the filter down. To inspect the belt, make sure that it moves freely. Make sure that there's no signs of belt wear, there's no cracking on the belt, and that you have a good deflection on that belt as well. Refer to the instruction manual for the proper tensioning of the belt. To put this back together, again, two people. Set this down gently and evenly. Once you have it down, you're just going to simply reattach the clamp on either side, and you are fully grounded. Unit is back together and ready to operate.